Good day, everyone. I am Blessy La Rosa, and I will continue the discussion about behavioral assessment. So, these are my topic outline. We'll first discuss what are the varieties of behavioral assessment and the issues in behavioral assessment. So, intended learning outcomes at the end of this report, students will be able to determine what are the varieties of behavioral assessment and assess the issues concerning behavioral assessment. So, what are the varieties of behavioral assessment? Before anything else, let's go back. Behavioral assessment is a tool being used to evaluate and understand the behavior of an individual. For instance, it can also be used to help predict and correct behaviors. And this behavioral assessment can be performed in various ways, such as observations, interviews, and even questionnaires. So the evaluations can be done also in a variety of settings, including school, workplace, or in a clinical environment. So the behavioral assessment is performed, of course, to understand where these new behaviors are coming from and to determine if they are related to past observations. So as mentioned kanina, behavioral assessment can be performed in different ways. So these are um, the varieties of behavioral assessment. First is the behavioral observation. So, this is a technique which implies watching and maintaining records of activities of the targeted research subjects. The observations, of course, are essential as a tool for seeing kung anong behavior yung nag-occur. So, in this variety of assessment, an observer would take detailed notes as to what is going on dun sa environment and when the behaviors are happening. So, even yung observed person can be the observer of his own behavior. So, in such cases, pwede siya matawag na self-observation. So, furthermore, itong behavioral observation can be utilized through mechanical means such as video recordings or like pencil and paper. So, recording the events of behavior relieves yung mga observer of the need to be present physically in the occurrence of that behavior. And also, it allows detailed analysis. And then, for example, dito sa behavioral observation, a school psychologist observes a child interacting with his peers in the school cafeteria. So, under behavioral observation, meron tayong behavior rating scale. This involves notes from the observer. Tinatake note niya yung presence or intensity ng targeted behaviors, usually by checking boxes or filling in coded terms. So this is another tool that can be considered in the behavioral observation as or behavioral evaluation as questionnaires. So, the people around the individual share observations about behaviors they have experienced. So, with this, yung form ng communication nila, nag-aalaw yun sa individuals to reflect on kung ano nga ba talaga yung na-experience nila. So, the information na pwede nating mag-gather using the behavior rating scale can be beneficial, of course, kasi nagagaling siya from variety of sources. So, itong behavior rating scale are indirect measures ng behavior. So, example nito ay itong behavior rating scale is a popular method of gathering information para mag-assess ng person with ADHD. So, aside from behavior rating scale, meron din tayong tinatawag na self-monitoring. This is both an intervention and assessment in which merong observing and recording ng own behavior. So, it can be used to record specific feelings or behaviors and thoughts. So, kapag pinag-uusapan natin itong self-monitoring, hindi natin pwedeng makaligtaan yung reactivity. This is a psychometric issue wherein there is a possible changes sa behavior or sa performance ng isang assessee in response to being observed or being evaluated. So for example, you're in a weight loss program. So you self-monitor your food intake. So you may be more inclined to like decline, magkain ng ice cream rather than to like yeah. In this case, yung reactivity doon ay merong positive effect sa behavior mo. So, aside from self-monitoring, meron din tayong tinatawag na aside from behavioral observation, meron tayong tinatawag na analog studies. This implies, yung analog studies na ito, the term analog studies has been used in various ways. So, the analog study implies research investigations in which one or more variables can either be, can either be similar or like analogous to real variable an investigator wishes to examine. So, itong analog behavioral observation is an observation na ng mga individuals in an environment designed to increase the chance that the assessor can observe the targeted behaviors and interaction. So, itong mga individuals na ito can be children, adults, families, or even couples. So, the targeted behavior here will depend, halimbawa, kapag nagkakandak ka ng research, will depend on the objectives. So, the analog behavioral observation is a type of behavioral assessment in which yung clinician observes the behavior of a client in a contrived environment such as a clinical setting or a waiting room para ma-assess yung variables hypothesized to influence the behavior. So, say for example, meron tayong mga couple, they may exhibit a higher frequency of negative comments toward each other during sa initial assessment interview rather than kapag ka nasa bahay sila kay pwede nilang maiwasan yung kanilang mga partner. So, some behaviors that occur kasi in a private context may not occur at all in an analog situation such as mga verbal threats, ganon. Now, under the analog behavioral observation, meron tayong mga situational performance measures. Itong situational performance measures, this allows, of course, the observation and evaluation of behavior of an individual under the set of circumstances. You perform a specific task under an actual or a stimulated condition. So, say for example, a leaderless group technique dito sa situational performance measures. This means that there are several group of people of course, in a group to carry out a task, and an observer will record information related to initiative ng mga members, ang cooperation nila, and even yung leadership ng individual group members. So, itong leaderless group technique na ito, as part of the situational performance measures, this can provide opportunity to observe yung degree ng cooperation na pwedeng i-display ng each group member and the extent to which kung paano nag-function yung each member as part of the team. So, usually, ina-employ itong leaderless group technique sa military or in an industrial setting. So, furthermore, meron din tayong role play. This is a measure where there is acting and improvised or partially improvised part in a stimulated situation that can be used, of course, in teaching, therapy, and even in assessment. So, a role play is an analog behavioral assessment class in which a client performs one or more behaviors in a contrived social situation. So, in further readings, it is also used in cognitive behavioral therapy for skills training now. Say, for example, a client and parent. So, si Rich, nagagalit siya when his daughter stays out late. So, gamit itong roleplay, the therapist asked him to roleplay a prior situation using yung new coping skill niya na natutunan niya. So, providing a safe opportunity to make mistakes, but of course, pwedeng ma-improve in how to handle that kind of situation. Now, we'll proceed to psychophysiological methods. So, like the understanding and the predicting of human behavior, these have led to the study of physiological indices. So this involves recording and quantifying yung mga physiological responses in controlled conditions using mga electromechanical equipment such as electroencephalography. So under psychophysiological methods, meron tayong biofeedbacks. There are various examples for this. One for this, the biofeedback. This is the best known out of all the psychophysiological methods used by the psychologist. So this is a technique designed to display and record yung continuous monitoring ng selected biological processes such as yung blood pressure and pulse. So depending how yung biofeedback instrumentation is designed, meron din kasing other biological process na pwedeng i-measure like heart rate, respiration rate, and the brain waves. So aside from biofeedback, meron din tayong tinatawag na plethysmograph. This is a biofeedback instrument na pwede niyang i-record yung volume of a part of the body arising from variations in a blood supply. So, say for example, merong significant difference sa blood supply ng normal, ng anxiety-ridden, and the psychoneurotic groups. That. And then, under plethysmograph, meron din tayong tinatawag na penile plethysmograph. This is an instrument designed to measure yung changes in blood flow, but more specifically, blood flow to the penis. Say for example, itong penile plethysmograph has found ang application niya sa assessment ng mga adolescent and adult sexual offenders, so male sexual offenders. So, yung volume ng blood supply in the penis increases with male sexual arousal, according to Lanyon and Thomas 2008. So, furthermore, meron din tayong tinatawag na polygraph. This is the best known of all, aside from the biofeedback. Tinatawag itong polygraph is commonly referred to as the lie detector. It's based on the assumption that there are detectable physical changes that can occur when an individual lies. So the polygraph provides a continuous written record of several physiological indices, typically respiration. As an interviewer and a polygrapher ask the assessee a series of yes or no questions. So much for psychophysiological methods. We'll discuss now the unobtrusive measure. This is a type of measure telling physical traces or record in which yung presence or cooperation of respondents are not necessarily required. So, yung data collected here ay without the knowledge ng mga individual. Say for example, the degree of fear induced by session of telling ghost stories can be measured by noting the number of seated children. Okay. So, now, well, ito na yung mga psychophysiological methods kanina na na-discuss ko. Now we'll proceed to issues in behavioral assessment. So, behavior changes across situations. So, in a behavioral assessment, there is an acceptable level of inter-rater reliability among behavior observers or raters. What does it mean of inter-rater reliability? There is a consistency sa evaluation ng mga ating mga observers or raters. So, in issues, this include the contrast effect. It is a source of error, a potential source of error in behavioral rating that may arise in when dissimilarity in two or more of the observed behaviors leads to a more favorable or unfavorable rating than would have been made had the dissimilarity not existed. So a behavioral rating may be excessively positive or negative because a prior rating was excessively negative or positive. So these can be observed also in interviews. That. So we have also the composite judgment. This is an approach to minimizing error. This may also improve yung inter-rater reliability among behavioral raters and to an averaging of multiple judgments. So, meron din tayong here, last one, the reactivity. Natapal natin to kanina sa self-monitoring, guys. This is another possible issue with regard to behavior assessment, since, of course, people may react differently in experimental than in natural situations because there is a possibility that they can alter their behaviors. So one possible solution to reactivity is the usage of observers that are hidden, although itong method na ito can raise serious ethical issues in the near future. So that ends my report. These are my references. Thank you so much for listening. And have a good day ahead of you.